Good evening, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, who is Mike Breen? Good evening, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, who is Mike Breen? Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to talk about the councilman from the 5th District, Mike Breen, who is now running for Assembly, challenging the incumbent Nader Sage for District 90. Good evening, folks. How you doing? I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, who is Mike Breen? I want to discuss the city councilman from the 5th District who is, as of now, at the end of his term limits. I was watching the interview he did with Yonkers Voice, and I found some things surprising, some things funny. But I'm going to show you, and you let me know what you think. Obviously, individuals do not ever want to come on my show, at least the ones that are, not brave. So I have to do it this way, but what's the difference, right? It's all the same. Mike Breen talks about everything from bail reform to term limits and gender sex education in schools. He also talks about what he's done. Let's hear it. Let's see what Mike has to say.
Involved with my homeowners group. I then met other homeowners groups, John Larkin, Steve Sansone. We had the Tuckahoe Watchdog group. We were trying to keep control on Tuckahoe Road, not to make it go too commercial or too overdeveloped. We fought the Battle of Ridge Hill, and Ridge Hill is there. I don't think it's ever panned out to be as great as it should be, but the neighbors were concerned, and that's something we did. I've been involved politically as a district leader in the Republican Party and as ward leader, and when the time came, I decided to run for city council. I've been on the council now for 11 years. I enjoy what I'm doing. We have a good council, all the councils I've been with, a lot of community leaders, Mike Sabatino, John Larkin, Dennis Shepard, and now we have new leadership with Tasha Corazon, and John Rubo, of course, and Anthony. So I've enjoyed that time, but there's a need somewhere else, I think. And it's just calling. It's just calling to go upstate to Albany.
It's calling him to go upstate up to Albany. That's what Mike Breen is saying. Or is it that he needs somewhere else to go now to earn a paycheck because he's termed out? And as it stands now, that has not changed. Mike Breen was first elected to Yonkers City Council on November 8, 2011, and was sworn in on January 1st, 2012 as the 5th District Councilman. He was reelected in 2015 and was sworn in January 1st of 2016. And then they extended term limits, and he was reelected for a third time in 2018, right? So now the question is, will they eliminate terms? And as of today, well, up until today, I should say, or up until yesterday, really, I was under the impression that Mike Breen was in support of term limit, or eliminating term limits, I should say. I mean, he's made comments to the effect. I mean, what do you call it, the retirement ceremony at City Hall for the former chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. He went up and made a speech, and he said that the gentleman was an example of why there shouldn't be any terms. We don't need any terms. John Rubel followed up by saying that was a great plug there, Mike Breen. And he was plugging in, obviously, the rumors that have been swirling about term elimination. I mean, it's to the point where someone or a group of individuals created a false rally or put out a flyer and sent it to a lot of people, emailed it to them, and had everyone thinking that there was a rally going to happen in protest of eliminating terms. Then people started to realize maybe something wasn't on the up and up, and no one attended, right? And then they made a big stink about it on the Yonkers Times. I want to go on to the next video here. But again, we'll talk about what he says and how he feels about term elimination in a minute.
As a community leader, I had a small business. I have a business way of looking at things. I have a constituent way of looking at things as being a community leader. The council person had to pass a budget, had to look at the taxes, and the council person should do constituent services and take care of his constituents. Don't have to get too political.
He says a council member has to focus on the budget, and he says that again. He stresses that that's their primary and biggest responsibility. But that's something that you rarely, if ever, hear them talk about unless they're asked about it or unless they're actually at a budget meeting. Every other time they're speaking about food distribution. That's all we hear from them, right? So I just wanted to point that out. And
don't have to get too political in that. And we've had a bite to it. Don't have to get too political to constituent services.
Oh, and constituent services. I'm sorry. I wanted to play that also. He says we do constituent services, right? And so I want to play this comment by William Ward. Please, Mike Breen, you don't even return calls or emails to your constituents, and I'm not the only one. Yes, I agree. He didn't return my calls for help as well. But he says here that budget and constituent services are his primary responsibility. Well, if the council members' primary responsibility are the budget and constituent services, then why do they pay Michael Sabatino $120,000 to be the director of constituent services? I don't understand that wasteful spending there.
Political in that, and we've had a bipartisan relationship, working with the mayor, working with the Democratic council, and we had a Republican council for 2 years. So I can work with people. Albany needs to do some work with people. It's a one-party. Well, it's a one-party town, and maybe they need a little diversity in office there. So I'm looking to get up there. You know the problem. They won't talk about it, but bail reform is not working. Bail reform they won't even modify. Something's got to give. We can't have every day a worse story. If I'm going to put a story out about something that happened on Instagram, before we finish writing it, the worst story comes along. The poor woman was ambulance person, supervisor, murdered yesterday for no reason at all. And tomorrow's going to be another story. The girl was shot, 17-year-old girl was shot the day before that. Something has to give. We have to have law enforcement, and I don't think Albany gets it. They're not talking about it. So it's got to be addressed.
Since we're talking about bill reform, look, Mr.
He says we need law enforcement, and he's speaking on bail reform, and he's talking about obviously what we've been hearing about in the news, how people are being arrested, then they're being released right away within minutes, then they're reoffending. People getting robbed again by someone who was just arrested an hour ago for robbing somebody else. And so this bail reform stuff by the Democrats just has not worked. And everyone from Republicans to Democrats are all complaining. But he does say that, bail reform needed to be changed. It's not good where it's at now. Or I should say, Ruros, the Yonkers voice, says, we know that, bail reform needs to be changed, but we know that it also wasn't good before. Well, maybe, but at least people weren't getting killed and robbed by people who just came out of jail. Right? So I agree with Mike Breen on there. And exposing Yonkers corruption says you're doing great. And I know why, because you are a Nader supporter. And I see that. You are a Nader Say supporter. So I guess you would like this podcast tonight. And this actually has made me want to maybe consider supporting Nader. But let me, play the rest of the video so I can show you why I'm starting to lean that way.
I am a liberal. I don't hide it. But I have a problem with bail reform as it stands. But I also had a problem with bail reforms as it was.
Yeah.
So something needs to be tweaked. Something needs to be worked on.
I'm the compromise guy on the city. I'm the compromise guy. The last time I was in meeting with Mr. Pretlow, he brings up the woman stealing diapers. I don't care about the woman stealing diapers, okay? That we should go gently. But that's not what we're talking about anymore. We're talking about mass break-ins of stores. We're talking about criminals being released back on the street. Yes, we need compromise. And you don't see it coming out of Albany. They're not changing their tune. They think it's fine the way it is, and they're deluding themselves. And that may just get me elected because if they're deluding themselves, people see it, and they don't see it.
I've been following.
So it sounds like he's hoping on this red wave to get himself elected, right? Because he is going up against the incumbent Nader Sage, who's very well known, very popular. Most people that I've spoken to have said that Breen has no chance he's going to lose. But he's trying to, ride this red wave. He's surfing on it, right? Hoping that if he speaks about this failed bail reform, which I agree with, that may just give him, what he needs to get over the hump and beat Nader Sage and become the state assemblyman for District 90, which represents all of Yonkers. It's why it's very important for us here in Yonkers, because these are the guys that are supposed to go up to the state and get us money. And he talks a little bit about that here and a couple other videos I'm going to play, and clips, I should say, right? So it's very important that we have somebody that goes up there and can really bring money to the city of Yonkers, because we need it for our schools. And though Nader Sage will brag about all the money he's brought to Yonkers, we don't see it. Where has it gone? How was it allocated? How was it spent? Because we are still in need of so much. And so I don't understand, where's the disconnect here between that? And so, this was going to be a tough race, a tough choice here, right? Really a tough choice.
I won't be a climate change denier. I'll remind everyone, back in the 70s, we had the aerosol problem where the ozone was opening up. We stopped making spray cans, and the spray cans were built.
You know what? I'm sorry. I want to play what he said before that. He talks about climate change as well.
Breen is elected. Things that you would address right away.
Obviously, bail reform, working with the governor, Governor Zeldin. Let me not say I'm not supporting Governor Zeldin. I am. Bail reform. There's things in the pipeline that we have to talk about. The zoning override. Albany has legislation to do zoning overrides on our single-family zones to maybe put apartments where they don't belong. I represent a district that's right along Metro North. I have lots of homes near railroad stations. I don't need some Albany's tribunal changing the zoning regulations. And it's in the hopper. They know the legislation. It's there if they want to bring it out. People who live in gas houses should vote for Mike Breen. If the state goes with electric houses.
Really quick, he talks about zoning changes and how he doesn't like the fact that, they might put apartment buildings where they're not supposed to go. But he doesn't seem to care about other areas where they're just changing zoning laws, and he's voting for it. And he's actually looking to change the zoning over there at 21 Scarsdale Road from industrial to residential to put a big luxury development there, 150 unit building. So what are you talking about, Mike? Watching this interview shows me that Mike speaks out of both sides of his mouth very clearly. Very clearly. So now he's concerned with zoning changes over your area, right?
Right now, even Mr. Heastie pushed that aside. But if they say next year every house that gets built in New York has to have electric heat, and in the year 2030, anybody who loses their boiler or their water heater or their stove has to replace it with electric, it's not practical. We're not there yet. We don't have an electric source, and we can't afford to heat a home with electricity right now the way electricity is priced. So I'm definitely opposed to that. I know my opponent thinks it's a good idea to work with the green people to to get something done, but we're not there yet. We need gas power for our homes.
Yeah, and by 2035, all new cars must be electric as well.
Where are we? We got to have the electricity first. We shut down Indian Point. Now, Indian Point was maybe too close to New York City. I'll give them that. But we should have built something north, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles. We need nuclear power. It's the only way to go. And there are people that just absolutely do not want nuclear power for reasons. I guess they watched that movie with Jane Fonda. And
that's the reason.
Syndrome. And it's just, we need nuclear power. It's clean. It's relatively inexpensive once it's up and running. And we don't have it. We just shut down a power plant. You can't build waterfalls. Waterfalls God put on the earth. We're not building any new waterfalls. So I don't know where we're going to generate electricity in the volumes that are needed. Maybe we'll go solar, maybe windmills, but it's not a steady stream of power that you can depend on.
I have to agree with Mike Breen on this. Some of it, they want, and this has happened in California. They announced it in California. Now Kathy Hochul has announced it here in New York. They want to, and I believe that, I guess it's by 2035, all cars have to be that are being sold in New York have to be all electric, right? But there's issues with that. We're not really set up. Our infrastructure is not designed or set up to handle all the power usage, the volume of people that are going to be now pulling on this electrical grid, and they were talking about, experts were talking about this and saying that we're going to have to create or build new electrical grids in order to handle this, handle all the electric cars, everything electric in your home, as he's saying. And I don't want an all electric stove. I like gas stoves. They cook a lot better. Like, we're being forced to do things that we don't want. I also like cars with nice sounding exhaust, not the crazy, stupid, annoying ones. The ones that come from the factory. Just got to make that difference, right? Don't want to be categorized with those guys. But no, seriously, I don't want to, I think that this is a lot about taking away our freedoms and really just kind of putting us in this whole smart city, all electric, go green. Remember the sustainable Westchester debacle? They converted people over to sustainable Westchester simply by notifying them through mail, something that looked like junk mail that a lot of people just threw out. And it was too late by the time people realized it. So people had to protest this and complain. And I think they extended the time, or there was a way where they were able to then go back to Con Edison. But ultimately, it failed. They were never able to secure them, the pricing that they had promised. And so they automatically converted everybody back to Con Edison, right? So this is all a scam. This whole, honestly, I will say it, a lot of it is all a scam, go green and all that stuff. It's all about, making money, people becoming rich. You get Congress to pass these bills, to allocate all these billions of dollars to go green. And then you get all these people that start these companies to make the money, right? And start installing all this stuff all over the place. They're giving money to cities to install the smart street lights. You guys know about that? Those things can actually communicate wirelessly with people's phones through Bluetooth. Why would you want that? They're going to track you in real time. They're going to track your car in real time. And what a lot of people don't know is that in the pandemic relief bill that Congress passed and gave everybody money, as relief, there was also a bill in there that will now require, after 2030, all car manufacturers to install a kill switch in cars. So your car will be able to be shut down if the government wants to stop you and arrest you or detain you for whatever reason. You ever watch Bay Car, that show? It's going to be like that. All cars, they're going to have that kill switch. And so you're going to be tracked. If you're a dissident, if you're speaking out against the government, car shut down. So I agree with Mike, Breen on that. And I guess as a Republican, that would be his take on it. He said he doesn't want to be a climate conspiracy, and I'll let you hear that.
Be a climate change denier.
A denier.
I remind everyone, back in the 70s, we had the aerosol problem where the ozone was opening up. We stopped making spray cans. And the spray cans were built right here in Yonkers with precision valve. There's no more ozone problem. So if there is a problem, we can address it. But I think we have to address it gradually. You just can't put everyone in an electric car. And China and India are still burning coal. They're not participating in it. So we're being like maybe the suckers for this, but we should do it. But it's got to be gradually. It can't be no more electric houses. It's got to be gradual.
I agree with that. It's true. It's only going to work.
They're out here with videotapes, black head to toe. Yeah, I'm right here right now. I need an officer here right now.
It's only going to work if other countries also participate, right? I mean, if we're the only country, how are we going to save the world alone if we're the only ones going green? And also, China has a huge, lock on the all of the car batteries. They produce and distribute those things. I mean, they pretty much have a huge chunk of the market. They dominate in the that industry, making the batteries for the all electric cars. So China's going to make a lot of money because we're going to have to get this stuff from them, right? And do you trust China? Who knows what they'll do to those batteries, right?
I see the videos that you've been putting up, the violence that's going on in New York City. Let's hope that doesn't come to Yonkers. But
it has.
It has, exactly.
You had a holdup at the Mobil station with a phony gun. You had a guy pull a box cutter on a police officer. You know, thank God she wasn't killed if it hit her. But he had a record as long as his arm, and it is happening here in Yonkers, not on the scale of New York, but. Tomorrow you'll be reporting another thing that we said, oh my God, look what just happened in Yonkers.
The jewelry that was robbed during the day, there is plenty of cases where bail reform keeps putting those guys right out on the street within hours.
You and I agree. I totally agree. Judges need discretion. They have no discretion.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, we're agreeing on that. Compromise. That
a Republican and a super liberal.
We have to go up and get some change done.
I think you're right on that. Bail reform needs.
Well, this is what I say, folks, right? Again, and that's a piece of the bail reform part. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, we all generally want the same thing. And I don't understand why is it so hard for us to get it together and come to a common ground. We want safe communities. We want good schools for our kids. We want affordable housing. We want jobs, right? That's what we all want. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what sexual preference, your sexual preference, gender, religion, whatever. Doesn't matter. We all want that. Those basic things. We want to be able to drive to work, from our home to our work, without hitting 10 potholes on the way there and another 10 on the way back, right? We all want that. Doesn't matter what color you are, right? And so I agree with that there. So that's why we all, and I say we as in all the Republicans and Democrats are all complaining and in protest about this bail reform stuff. People don't want to get robbed. Businesses don't want to get robbed.
Is there institutionalization?
Listen to what he says here. He's talking about the homeless population. And, he wants to say that we have to separate those who are just homeless from those who may have a mental health disorder. But look how he says it. And this is what kind of turned me off a little bit about Breen. I mean, some of the things he says and the way he says it, I don't know. Who's his publicist?
Institutionalization, is there a scale of institutionalization that makes it more affordable than one person, one hospital, but one place that they could go? We'd have to look at it.
So definitely something needs to be done.
Yes. To get them out of the population and then work with the people that really are homeless that need a place to stay.
Well, Mr. Breen.
So again, he was talking about homeless. Rue Rose had asked him, what does he think about the homeless?
Is there a scale of
right? And so he says that they need to be institutionalized, right? If they have a mental health disorder, that they need to be institutionalized. So we need to separate those that are having or suffering from mental health, institutionalize them. And so then Ruro asked, well, where are you going to get that money from? Right. And he didn't really have a real clear answer on that. But I just didn't think that that was appropriate just to institutionalize people, Breen. Is that what your answer is? Institutionalize them.
Totally. I know it's in the hopper up there.
And listen to this. He's talking about now sex education, sex education in elementary school. I agree with him on this one also.
Totally. I know it's in the hopper up there. I know they're talking about gender identity. It's to me, it's a non-starter. I don't believe this should be occurring. We have a lot of sports leagues in Yonkers. My kids played Bryn Mawr. I don't want to go to my daughter's softball game and see Johnny pitching. And I don't want to go to a basketball game and see, Louis playing basketball. It's not right. And that's where we're going with this gender thing, that if boys want to play with the girls, it's okay. I'm totally opposed to that. I guess I should be sensitive to the children that have these issues. But when it manifests itself on sports teams that hurt other children, I'm dead set against it.
But you think that is an issue? Do we have an issue because we are born straight? Is that an issue because they are born the way they are, or is it just nature? That's just the way they are.
If they want, I feel sympathy until the man on the swimming team, the girls' swimming team. And there was the man on the girls' track team in Connecticut. That's inappropriate. The girls are losing. We have Title IX to support girls sports and girls equality, and they're losing to people who have a male body because they can outdo women in certain activities. It's wrong. So
Look,
we can work this out, but I don't want to see boys on girls' teams.
Yes, I have seen the Olympics, the last one, the swimmer who was a transgender. She won, but there was a problem because the other ones didn't feel like they were in a competition. I cannot see both the.
Boys and girls locker rooms. I'm old fashioned, I guess. I just have a problem with boys in girls locker rooms because I do have issues with it. I have issues with the comprehensive sex education, K to 12. I don't know that the schools are a place to be doing sex education in the lower grades. Certainly when you get to biology and stuff in the older grades, there's a place for it. But K 1, 2, 3, there's no place for sex education at this point. Let the parents.
He is very nervous there. You see his hands. He can't stop, moving his hands on his knees there. And I agree with him on this. However, I don't agree with the way he's explaining it. He says, I'm old fashioned, I guess. It's not about being old fashioned. It's about that a man, no matter if that person is transgender or not, if he's born a man, just genetically, men grow taller, usually. Men are usually physically, different from women. And so that gives us an advantage. It does. And not to say that women aren't great. Women, as the brains that matter, right? Women's brains are, sometimes probably better than men, actually. But yeah, so when it's talking about sports, right? I mean, you have girls and women who are in high school, teenagers in high school who have been playing sports all their, lives for the most part, hoping to get a scholarship. And then here you go, you have someone who comes to the school and is a transgender now and wants to be on the girls' team, and they're much better. So they take over and, person loses scholarship. This has happened, actually. Has happened. And how fair is that? Especially after women were fighting for their rights for so long. Whatever happened to the women's rights? And now that gets pushed aside to, you got the transgender, the LGBTQ community. Right? I guess they cover everybody, right? Men and women and those who, are both, right? So, but what happened to that? We was fighting for women's rights to have equal rights to, be able to have their own stuff and all that. And then here we go. We have men who, are transgender, want to be women, want to be on a woman's team, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily fair. That's okay. And then he says also about the boys, boys going into a girl's locker room. I agree also. How do we know that they're not just saying they're transgender to go into it? I'm joking. That's a joke. But still, it makes the women uncomfortable, I'm sure, because at the end of the day, it's still a man, no matter how you want to slice it, right? And so we have to study this more before we make so much changes, because again, and if you don't know this, statistically, those who are, who regard themselves as being a part of the LGBTQ community are about 0.06% of the population. But the changes that we are, or that, certain people are pushing for are going to impact 100% of the population, right? So we have to really look into this first. Also, when they talk about nature versus nurture, there still isn't any proof or evidence that you are born that way. and I'm not saying there's evidence to suggest that you're not, but they haven't found anything that says, okay, this is, what they're born with. This is what causes someone to feel this way, or, or whatever, or be attracted to the same sex. So that's still that whole, research going on, I would imagine, on this, so that's all I'm saying. It will be a joyous day when he loses in November. Well, there you go, supporting Breen. Let's see a 17-story affordable apartment building on Central Ave near Crestwood. Let's see a 17-story affordable apartment building anywhere in Yonkers. It's much needed, right? They're building one on Main Street. That one's going to be 76 units, I believe. But that's nothing compared to the 900 and 200 and 300 and the Xtel 7-building luxury development over there by the waterfront next to Avalon. That's going to be 7 buildings of luxury apartments. 7 buildings, right? So we need a lot more, affordable. So moving on to the next clip.
Breen, please let me know. Financially,
listen to this.
Doing well. Surplus, 150 what, million, billion, whatever. Because after the 100,000 for me, they all sound the same.
I think out of COVID came Amazon and all these other. We are flush, and sales tax is doing very well because people aren't going in the malls. They're shopping. You drive around Yonkers, you see United Parcel, you see Amazon. I would like to mention before I get out of here the big lie, because when I go to Albany, I want to fight about the big lie. And that's when the budget process starts. There are people in Albany and in the Journal News that say, here comes Yonkers begging for money. We're not begging for money. We're looking for our money. We are sending money up to the Hudson River. I call it the river, and unfortunately, the river only flows that way. We need the river to flow this way because we are sending them hundreds of millions of dollars over the last few years, and that's money we didn't get back. We do get money back, but not in the percentages that we're sending it up there. We are a cash cow for the state of New York. And you know the story of Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. Their schools get everything, and we're like the stepsister down here. So I'd like to fight the big lie. And when you hear someone say Yonkers goes begging, we're not begging. It's our money. We sent it there, and we should get the correct share of it.
Now,
and I just want to really quick make a comment about that. So he's basically saying that it's not, it's not true that Yonkers, is getting their fair share that they need to, and somebody needs to go up there and fight for it. That's the big lie, right? The big lie. Yonkers goes up to Albany to beg for money. We're not begging for money. It's our money. It's our money. I saw a clip not too long ago when Mike Spano, the current mayor, was the assemblyman for, I believe, District 90. He was the assemblyman at the time, and he was now running for mayor, and he was debating. And in his debate, he said that Yonkers gets a lot of money. Yonkers does. And every time you see the mayors, he says, coming up to Albany, begging for money, crying about how they don't have enough money. But we do give him money. He was an assemblyman. He was on the state side. He said, Yonkers does get money. I've gotten millions and millions of dollars for Yonkers. So when they come up begging, saying they don't have money, that's because they're not managing the money right. That's what Mike Spano said in this debate. However, Breen says that we're not getting our fair share. And then they always like to point to Rochester and all these other places, right, to compare. And why? Why does the city, I should say the state, feel that Yonkers should not be getting as much as Rochester? Because they see the money that Yonkers generates in taxes, the salaries that are paid here in Yonkers. And they wonder, well, you guys are doing really well. What's going on? Why do we have to give you so much money? You're not Rochester. You're right. You're not these towns that are struggling, that have no industry. And while they may have a certain size of population, whatever, it's very poor for the most part. Their city employees are not making $200,000 a year. And that's the difference. That's the difference. And that's why the state always says that, we have to figure out how to stop being so dependent on the state. The comptroller says it every time.
There is people talking, and some people might be saying things that are not completely true, sometimes based on misinformation. And the reason you hear, it's in part to set the record straight. Because maybe if they hear from you, they say, oh, maybe what I thought was not correct. Maybe this is correct. Bob or Bob, Low Blow, I don't know, Low Blau.
That's you, Bob.
His name. It says Mike Breen is talking about cutting taxes, but he has voted for every tax increase while he's been on the council. How can he explain that?
Okay. I did vote for every tax increase. And my predecessor, my mentor, Tom Deckerson, I think he never voted for a tax. I voted for everyone. I was a part of it. If I didn't get involved in the exit tax discussion, the exit tax would be 3%. But I did get involved. And when I get involved, I vote for the budget. We've been under the tax cap. That many years. Yes, I vote. The mayor submits a budget. We tinker with it. 2 years ago, Anthony Moranti, the budget chair, tinkered the tax increase down to 0. Last year was 1.2%, and you get the state gives you your SAR money. So yes, you have to vote for a budget if you want to participate. I could just sit in my office and let them do the budget, and then I wouldn't get anything out of it that I want to get out of it. As far as paving roads, fire trucks, you have to participate. So yes, I have voted for every budget. One of my colleagues voted no because the taxes were too high. Now, if I voted no, they would think maybe I voted because I thought the taxes were too high. Were not too high, excuse me. So you have to participate. You got to be in it to win it. And so I have voted for every tax increase, and 8 out of 10 have been under the tax cap.
Since you are talking about city roads.
So he says that he voted for the tax increases almost by default, right? It was by default because he voted yes on the budgets that the mayor presented and that they tinker with it, here and there, but that he voted for it. And why? Because he says you have to participate. I want to participate in it. I don't want to vote no and not participate. He says you have to be in it to win it. That's what he says. Well, you can vote no. It's okay, Breen. If you feel that the tax increase that are being proposed are too high, you can say no and then explain your no vote, right? So that way people don't assume that you're voting no because you think that they're too low. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, Breen. So you're basically saying, well, I voted for, tax decreases, or I helped keep taxes low. How? If you voted yes every time. How? I don't know. Somebody tell me.
That's not about county roads, city roads.
And state roads.
Okay, but let's talk about the city.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our roads.
The city of Yonkers is responsible for.
Yes.
One of the complaints, and I understand that certain things that I'm talking to you have nothing to do with your job as an assemblyman if you are elected. But if people are going to elect you, they are going to elect you based on your record. Yes, he has done this, he has accomplished this. So your prior record is important for the job that you are seeking. Roads in Yonkers, city roads, the ones that we are responsible for, some are a mess. Okay. People complain of axles damaged, tires blown up. Should the city of Yonkers be responsible for the mechanical problems that the roads of Yonkers are causing? Because I'm not talking about the road that just broke yesterday. Talk about for maybe a pothole that's been there for months and months and months.
You probably won't find one in my district. We try to fix them.
What? That's
Central
BS.
Avenue is a state.
That is BS. That is BS. That is BS. Mike Breen, how dare you get on here and lie like that, man? You too old to be lying, fool. You got a lot of potholes in your district. And so here's the thing, what they're talking about, who is responsible for what road. Some roads here in the city of Yonkers are the responsibility of the state. Some are of the county, and some are of Yonkers. But all of them have potholes, and all of them do damage to our cars just the same. So they passed the buck. He's saying Central Avenue belongs to the state. That's their responsibility. And he says that actually that Nader Sage said he's going to actually get it fixed because Central Avenue is horrible. Horrible. And that is a, main road. A lot of cars travel on that. But all the roads in Yonkers are horrible. Please show me one road in Yonkers that's not all beat up. And so it doesn't matter in my eyes, in my opinion, it doesn't matter whose responsibility it is. If you represent the people of Yonkers, then you need to figure out a way to get these roads fixed, whether it belongs to the state or the county, because your constituents are driving on them. And so you're going to just say, well, it's not our responsibility, and then move on. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I thought constituent services was one of your responsibilities, Mike. But as people know, you don't care. You don't respond to emails, calls. You really don't help. Not at all.
Central Avenue, and Nader's going to resurface it. So, yes, if
you hear that,
use your
Nader?
pothole, you have a right to go to the city and file a claim. Maybe they're not.
Do you get compensated? Do you know
If you file a good case.
So according to Mike Breen, if you damage your car as a result of a pothole, you can go to the city and file a claim. Whether or not you will actually get paid for that claim, now that's something different.
No, if you file a good case, you could.
Do you know of a good case?
No, I have not.
You don't?
I don't.
There is not
But-
no record of a
No.
case of something that was confined,
We send claim forms out if someone requests it. But
knowing the
there's none in my
See, they get
district.
to
We fixed
they,
one Councilman
they get
pothole.
to
We
drive they get to drive the city cars with free gas and everything. So it doesn't matter if they beat those cars up.
If I see them, we fix them. And if people call them in, we'll fix them. But
So I guess on the state roads, county roads,
I gotta.
if you are elected, then we're going to have that fixed. right?
Nader's going to do Central Avenue. He's promised, and I'm counting on him because Central Avenue. You know, they were going to pave Central Avenue from Sado Lane down to the Boulder Creek, and then the bill came due, and they only, and I get it, they could only do from Will Library down to Boulder Creek. It's just so expensive. It's a bloody fortune. But
It's a bloody fortune. That's what he says. Well, I've replaced 3 tires and I haven't had my car for a full year. And I've replaced 3 tires. Yeah, it's bloody expensive to replace 3 tires. Now, what does Mike Breen have to say about term limits? Because remember, he was all for it. I mean, he was promoting it. He was saying term limits or eliminating term limits was a good idea. It made sense. The former chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, who had been the chairman for over 50 years, was a perfect example of why there should not be term limits, according to Mike Breen. Well, let's see what he has to say now when it comes to term limits.
we have term limits in Yonkers. We probably should have it in Albany because in Albany, term limits tends to be handcuffs. So we should have term limits. The president is term limited. The Congress should be, should be term limited. Some of our leaders in Congress, both parties, are in their 80s, and no offense to people in their 80s, but it's time to give it up and get some young blood in. I'm going to be old blood pretty soon.
You're old blood now,
term
buddy.
Limits in Yonkers, we probably should have it in Albany because in Albany, term limits tends to be handcuffs. So we should have term limits. The president is term limited. The Congress should be, should be term limited. Some of our leaders in Congress, both parties, are in their 80s, and
did I play this twice?
People in their 80s, but it's time to give it up and get some young blood in.
Yeah, I played that twice. Sorry. Yeah, so he says now he believes in term limits, right? Yonkers should have term limits. The president has term limits. Congress has term limits. Is that what he said? I don't know. He's confusing me. He said there should be term limits anyway. Some people are in their 80s and they need to go. I think there should be term limits for the Supreme Court. Seriously. I mean, when you get to a certain age, you really can't sit there and pay attention for a long time. So how do they stand and listen or sit there and listen to these cases, right? Without falling asleep. My grandmother and grandfather, forget it. They would fall asleep as you're talking to them, right? I'm just saying. I think that they definitely need to have term. So he's now against term limits. Listen to what he says when it comes to eliminating term limits, and Mike Spano, the mayor, who supposed to be his buddy,
Decided to go for another term. Would you support that, sir?
Right now, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it was a rumor more than anything. No one has told me that he wants another term. Matter of fact, he told me a bit ago he didn't want another term. So
Me that too.
yeah. So I think it's more of a rumor than a truth. But I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, last time he also told me that he was not going, but at the end of the day, he did.
The third term. I told you with a laugh, and I thought the third term was a good. I stayed on for the third term, for God's sakes. But I'll wait and see. I'm not hearing it. I know everybody's rumoring it, but I'm not seeing it. There's nothing tangible that I've seen.
If that comes on the table,
Where
where would your position be?
I'm not in favor of it at this moment, but we'll wait and see. I want to see. I have other colleagues on the city council that can, also have to voice what they think.
So basically, he's scared to just say flat out, "I'm against it." Even if the mayor is deciding to run again, that's what he didn't want to say that. He wants to be generic and general, right? Yeah, I think there should be term limits. There should be term limits. What about Mike Spano if he wants to run again and he wants to eliminate terms? Oh well, I haven't even heard about that. And that's like a rumor or something. I don't even think he wants to run. Well, he said that last time. That's what Ruro said, which he did, right? And so most people believe that the mayor, or they're looking to eliminate terms, and that the mayor will run again for a fourth term. I mean, a lot of the stuff that he's doing, especially recently, give that indication, right? But what happened to Mike Breen that made him all of a sudden have a change of heart? He was supporting eliminating terms not that long ago. Everybody knew that. What happened? LOL, Mayor Nick hurt his feelings when they made speeches at Nader's fundraiser. Breen was a Spano soldier and loyalty means nothing to these people. Nick told him not to run and he didn't listen. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if Nick told him to run or not. He didn't listen, but I'll take your word for it. Yes, I agree. I was thinking the same thing when I saw this for the first time. I said, oh, he was upset that they made speeches at Nader Sage's fundraiser not too long ago. I mean, they did hold it also at the Castle Royale, correct? Right? So it seems and it appears that the administration and the Spano family are supporting Nader Sage and not Mike Breen like some had initially thought. Their families go back 20 plus years, good friends. But like Carolyn said, there's no loyalty in politics. And you're only as good as your worth. And what is Mike Breen worth to the establishment? Why do they need him around? What does he bring to the table? How is he an asset? I'm sure they'll give him some job somewhere within the city, probably give him Mike Sabatino's job as he retires with his husband and they go live over there down on Warburton at the Greystone apartment they bought not that long ago. And he'll live it up there until he retires and someone else replaces him. But they cannot go against Nader Sage because Nader brings a lot to the table. He brings a huge support base in the Jordanian community. He brings money. He's able to raise funds. And he's liked by a lot of people, especially in the Hispanic community, because he's a good con artist. Just kidding. Just kidding. Although some might say, Freddie, you're right. Many people don't like Nader Sage, but a lot of other people do. Those who don't really understand and know what's going on within the political circles. But those who do know what most of these people are truly about. And I've seen it. And at the very least, they don't do anything for the people of the city of Yonkers. Forget corruption, forget, taking money under the table, forget, all that other stuff. At the very basic, they don't do much for the people of the city of Yonkers. They don't represent their constituents. They represent themselves and their interest, whatever that may be. And that's what they've been doing for many, many years now. So eliminating terms is not something that I am for. I will never be for it. It's nothing personal. I just think when it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time for change, it's time for change. And our city is changing, right? Well, maybe we need to change our government as well. Again, many of these individuals cannot list one single thing that they've truly done to benefit, impact positively I should say in a positive way, the residents of the city, the taxpayers. What have they done for our kids, our children? Right? They are our future, are they not?
Resident of Yonkers, correct?
Since '84.
What are the things that you see? Look, even though you're going for an assembly position, which is New York State assembly position, you are a resident of Yonkers. And there is lots of things in Yonkers that people want to know. What is your opinion on that? Homeless, crime, housing. What is your opinion on those issues? So you can just pick whatever you want to talk about first.
We're trying to change the affordable housing. We're going to ratchet it up a bit. I think, some people wanted 20. I don't think 20 is practical. If we vote on it, I think we're going to talk to 13 or 14. I'm fine with that. Stag built a property on Bronx River Road. 16 affordable units were added. They're added. It's built. It's in there. So you have to have something they can build if we're going to have affordable units. Crime, we're holding our own on crime. But tomorrow is going to be another story. That's the scary part. That's the scary part.
It's a large city, and with every single large city, crime comes into place. Crime is part of the equation.
Right. Homelessness, it has to be dealt with. That maybe we've got to reopen institutions and put people back in institutions, and separate who shouldn't be on the street, virtually insane, with who is really homeless. And I think it's two different categories. And if we can, if we could put people in institutions that belong there, it may be less expensive in the long run than all the damage they're rendering to people.
Now, Mr. Breen, there is a question here from John Van Nostrum. He wants to know from you, as councilman, what have you done?
Before I get there, I want to go back. You see what he says about, we need to open up institutions and just put people in institutions. They closed them down because that was not okay, Mike Breen. Why are we going to reopen them again? And affordable housing, he says we're still working on it. Mike Breen, there was one already completed. It was ready to be passed, and you guys failed. The people of Yonkers, a lot of people, both Democrat and Republican, are in need of affordable housing. White, black, brown, yellow, purple, green, everyone, every group. There's people that are in need of affordable housing, and you guys have yet to pass one. You actually failed to override the mayor's veto on the one that was proposed for 20%, which would have been awesome and still not enough. So when they say 20% just wasn't, that's still not enough, Mike. You need more like 50%. But we would take 20. So to say that that's too much is ridiculous. Not when there is a housing crisis, not just in Yonkers, in the county, and in the country. So even if people leave here, they're going to go to other places where they're having problems and shortages on affordable housing. And you guys have done nothing. Still, nothing. Super majority, super Democratic majority, 4 black women, one of them who currently lives in affordable housing, was the primary person who killed it. The lapdog of the mayor.
Specifics. I have worked on this, I have worked on that, I have accomplished this, I have failed on that. Because not everything that we promise to deliver, we're able to deliver. Because it's not a decision that lies on oneself. You have to work as a team.
I've done a lot of little things that I tend to forget about, but helping people with situations.
The question was, and I've been asking this question myself, what have you done in your time as councilman?
Created a situation near train stations where commuter parking is limited because we found neighborhoods being overrun with Metro North doesn't provide parking. I've helped neighbors there. We have a hotel tax. We have 5, they're not brand new anymore. All these hotels can be Yonkers. We have a hotel tax, so the people staying there can share can share the burden or the services they're getting. I worked with the mayor on the capital budget. I've kept the taxes under the tax cap for only 2 years of the 10. We went over the tax cap. One year it was the last year of the municipal contracts, and they had salaries. So I have worked on cutting taxes. The 1 year, one of the mayor's bean counters proposed doubling the.
Did you hear what he just said? Did you just hear what he said? He said one of the mayor's bean counters. Did you know that that was a derogatory term used to describe Jewish bankers and accountants? How am I racist when I say that the developers are Jewish? It's a fact. That's a good thing. This guy says bean counter. That's who they used to call bean counters. That was a derogatory term for accountants who were Jewish. It's crazy that this guy just said that. I'm just saying.
I said, absolutely not. I led the charge that the exit tax, as bad as it is, the transfer tax, is still 1.5. They wanted to double it. Didn't happen. 1 year they wanted to take the income tax surcharge up to 19 point something percent. We compromised at going from 15 to 16.75. I don't like the income tax surcharge. I think no one else has it but us. I'd like to see it lowered, but that's wishful thinking on my part, but I'll strive
No, it's
for
not.
it.
You can work on it.
It used to be 5% and nobody cared. It was 10% and nobody cared. It was 15%, and now people care. People say in my district that have income. So I've tapered, held the line on that. We haven't talked about that in years. So holding the budget, because the council people are the budget people. We've put money in the capital budget for fire trucks. I'm appalled that the fire trucks are in pretty bad shape. They're just too old, and sometimes we weren't replacing them as we should. So we are replacing fire trucks, and it's not easy even to find a fire truck anymore. So I've put money there, especially. I mean roads. We put money into roads. There's not enough money to pay for all the roads in Yonkers, but we're doing the best we can.
Well, John, I apologize.
There's not enough money to repair the roads in Yonkers, right? But he said he's put money there. I'm not sure where. What did he say there that was really impressive? What did he say there? Nothing. He talked about, helping get, parking spaces or a lot for the MTA commuters who were parking the neighborhoods in his district, because the MTA didn't have parking lots. He kept the taxes under the tax cap when the quote unquote bean counters, the mayor's bean counters were increased. I don't know, something to that effect. What did he really say? His primary job is the budget, but there's no money. He just answered a question from a guy who asked him about the surplus, and he said, yeah, we got all this money because this, that, and the third. 150 million or billion is what, I think he might have said million, is what Ruro said. So why is there no money to fix the streets? I don't understand. Wait, is there money, or do we have a surplus, or is there no money? And if there is a surplus of 150 million, it doesn't have to be billion, it could be million. That's enough to get another one of the schools built. If there's any land left, the developers didn't gobble it all up. Hey, Mike Breen, you need to apologize for your bean counter comment. I don't think that's okay.
I know it's in the hopper up there. I know they're talking about gender identity. It's to me, it's a non-starter. I don't believe this should be.
Yeah, we talked about that. He doesn't believe it should be taught in school.
Thinking of
when you talk about the rat problem, which rats are you referring to?
Four-legged.
Or the four-legged?
Yeah.
You hear that? This guy Ruros always wants to start a problem. Listen to what he said there.
Thinking of
when you talk about the rat problem, which rats are you referring to?
Four-legged.
Or the four-legged?
Yes, they don't like mint apparently.
Not you. He wasn't talking about you.
I got this from Tasha. Yes, the rats don't like mint. So if we get mint trash bags, that's going to be part of the solution. Mint, they make mint trash bags, those heavy duty bags, mint flavored. Rats don't like mint.
They're not mint.
So that's a plug for Tasha that we're working on this project.
With the rat entrapment.
Right, the rat hotels.
Exactly, on Lawrence Street. How is that going?
You'd have to ask Tasha.
Yeah, because you don't.
She's happy about it. I don't have it like that. I live near a river. I have lots of mice. I haven't noticed rats. I have mice. But I don't want anyone to have a rat problem.
Yeah, on this side of Yonkers,
Right.
we have rats that are bigger than cats.
Yeah, yep.
And that's scary, because they come anytime.
They come anytime, and I've seen it on Stanley Avenue or Stanley over there on the southwest side in broad daylight. I counted about 10 rats, and they were huge. And they were going from in the building out to the garbage cans, and they actually created a hole in one of the cans. It was a plastic one, so they were going in there, getting into the bags, going back in, and they were just, disgusting. So many of them. I couldn't believe that they were actually going into these buildings where people were living huge. He's right. And so what Breen is referring to is rodent resistant bags, right? Or they rodent repellent bags, I should say. The mint flavored bags that he's talking about. They're not mint flavored. Don't eat them, Breen. You can't eat them. I know everything you like to do has to be around food, right? He's doing the meet and greet with meatballs. The greet and meatballs, right? So go meet him and have some meatballs. He did that already, I believe, over at after. But yeah, so that's what he's talking about. It's rodent repellent bags, and I didn't know. I don't understand why you didn't know that already. Those been around for a while, and why isn't the city using them or making landlords use them in order to, keep rodents and stuff away, because that is a huge problem there. But Mike Breen lives by the river, so he doesn't have rats. He has mice. He's not worried about it. But did you hear that little jab or sub, Ruros? Which rats are you talking about? Unbelievable.
That are watching you, and tell them whatever you can.
Breen for
So,
New York.
Let's let Breen get his last word, see what he has to say before we end this interview here.
Breen for NY, that's my site. You can Instagram, Facebook, see what we're doing. We're putting stuff out every day. Look, it's 5 weeks to election. I'll be covering lots of streets. We're knocking on doors. That's the way to get elected in a local situation. So we're doing it. Hopefully we're having a parade tomorrow up on Midland Avenue from Yonkers Avenue to Midland. I'll be having a meet and greet at Tara's. If anybody comes to the parade, come by and see us after the parade. Hopefully the weather's going to hold. And we're going to have a beautiful parade on Sunday for Columbus Day. And it's been put off for 2 years, so it's good to have a parade again. It's time. It's time.
The flag raising, the karma was awesome. It's
time. They're busting. The dinner last night was packed, the Columbus dinner. So everybody's busting out. We just need nice weather.
Nice weather.
And that is Mike Breen, council member of District 5, who is up. His term is up. That's it. He can't run anymore unless they eliminate terms, which he opposes. But it wasn't that long ago that he was in favor for eliminating terms. So did the mayor giving a speech at Nader Sage's fundraiser last week leave a sour taste in Mike Breen's mouth? A sour, minty taste? Or is this just some smoke and mirrors, lie and trick or diversion? Because that happens too. Why does he think that he can beat Nader Sage? Did he think that he was going to get support from the machine? I don't know. Most people wonder why. They hear the administration didn't want him to run, but he did anyway. What is he drinking? I don't know. He's drinking something. Is he serious? How about put money in the community and programs? Mental health issues are going to be rampant for all populations due to global pandemic. He needs to stop talking. No, he needs, right? Just institutionalize him. Right? Let's just pick him off the street and put him somewhere on an island in an institution. I couldn't believe when he said that. Couldn't believe he said bean counter. Criminalization of the poor. Yep, just like Joe Biden did with his 1995 crime bill. You got to see how bad he destroyed the black community. I mean, the ACLU did a report on it. Go read it. You would never, ever vote for that man for anything. The exit tax was supposed to be temporary. What has he done to eliminate it? Nothing. Nothing. But he is or was considering eliminating terms, but not anymore. He's upset. He opposes the transfer tax because his wife is a real estate agent. Yeah, 1,000%. And I hear his wife is doing very well. She has been involved in some big transactions, multi-million-dollar real estate transactions that some have wondered if they were truly her deals or was she just covering for others. I don't know. Breen, listening to Tasha, LOL, I want to vote for Nader at this point, right? I thought the same thing. I said the same exact thing after watching this. I said, I can't vote for this guy. He is so out of touch. He's aloof. He doesn't know much. Doesn't seem like he's the one that, really is the breadwinner in the family, right? So his wife runs the house. She runs the ship. She's the brains. She's the one that's, getting him up in there. He just has to make sure his bow tie or tie is neat. His shirt is tucked in and he's presentable. Mike, make sure your hair, what little you got left is done, right? And she's the one that's pushing, because I hear that she stood up in some meeting that they were having, some event that they were at, and they said, they better get my man Mike Breen a job. Better give him something after District 5, like demanding that he gets some kind of position within the city. And now Mike Spano don't play out here. He don't play that, right? You're not going to demand nothing. So don't be demanding anything, patty cakes. You know what I mean? That could backfire on you. Play nice. But maybe you guys are a part of something that we don't even know. And maybe you are playing nice. Maybe you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Who knows? They have to go, especially the dinosaurs. Absolutely they do. It's time for a new regime. It's time for new officials, people with fresh ideas, new perspectives, new energy that want to benefit the community. I want to see the community do well. All the community, all sides, right? And I think we can start, like I said, with the basics. We want good quality of life, affordable housing. And that doesn't mean public housing. Please be very clear. Affordable housing does not mean public housing. And not that to say anything about public housing. What I'm saying is that that's not what it means. Some people confuse it to affordable housing simply means housing that's affordable, right? Because people are making $100,000 a year and still can't afford some of the rent, right? So, you can still qualify for affordable housing and still make over $100,000 a year. So just so you know, this is for people who are working, but these damn rents are so high. And these developers are only making it worse. Right? He is the reason the stigma is so bad for Republican, institutionalized people instead of helping them. This is why people need to vote. Total failure on this interview. Absolutely. I said, who is this guy's publicist? Who help this guy out before this? Or who was there? I don't know, man. That was just bad. Not true unless it was already reported. Your claim gets thrown out. It happened to my family. They're not going to take that claim. You crazy? They're not taking that. Breen doesn't care about damage to vehicles from crappy roads. We own his car anyway, so we pay for the maintenance. Absolutely. They get free cars, gas, insurance. They don't care. I hear he drives it down to Jersey. That's what I hear. I've seen comments to that effect, that he drives it down to Jersey. Breen, you didn't do good here. Breen, I don't think you're going to win. It isn't even affordable. Some that won the lottery didn't make $50,000 and didn't qualify. Very sad. What do you mean by that? Some that won the lottery, right? Because that whole lottery thing was a scam anyway. That was just to kind of, reshuffle things. People were already on the waiting list. And so why did they have to do a lottery? Right? They were already there waiting. One guy was at Macy complaining that he was on there for 10 years and now he's not on there anymore. What happened? Guess he didn't get picked at the lottery, and so that's messed up. And so that is the priority. So we got to get these individuals up out of here, folks. These folks have been connected. This is a family and friends network thing. Like he said early on, he's worked with some of the individuals that are in politics since back in the day when they were just members of some neighborhood watch group. He was part of the Tuckahoe Watch group and all that other stuff. And here they are now within our politics, you know, friends hooking each other up, hooking their own family members up. And they want to stay in these positions. This is what they do. This is their career. This is their way of earning income, of making a living, of going on those nice vacations. Right? This is how they do it. This is how they send their kids to private school. Right? So they don't want to go. So we have to break it up. And we do that by coming out to vote. We have to come out to vote. It's very important. They have a system of cheating the votes. Absolutely, they do. This is not no Trump conspiracy. Throw that out the window. I'm talking about going up to the Board of Election and grabbing ballots for other people. That should be a no-no. That should be a no-no. No one should be allowed to get anyone else's ballot. Maybe a family member, but they have to prove that, right? But this is what they do. They will gather a bunch of people to go up and get all these ballots that they will use if they need to, because they don't use them unless they need to. And they watch it. The day of the election, they watch the numbers as they come in. And if they see that their candidate is losing, that's when they start throwing these ballots in. You know, they know how many they got to do of these absentee ballots. This is real. This is how they do this. So we have to come out and vote to counter that. We have to come out and actually vote. And if you don't want to go on the line, then go up to the Board of Elections in White Plains and get your ballot. Right? Get yours and then do it that way if you don't want to line up. But we should have to only vote, or we should only be allowed to vote on election day. That's it. That's it. That's what I believe, because it allows for manipulation. So that's going to happen. We got to expect that. This is going to be a tough year on the elections. They're going to fight hard if we are looking to make change. Any new candidates that run for office will be challenged from day one. From day one. The minute their signatures, they turn that in, they're going to challenge their signatures. So anyone looking to get on a ballot, make sure that when you're collecting signatures, that you do it properly. I would advise everyone that's new, that's looking to run for office, possibly is going to collect signatures, to take pictures with the people, videotape them signing it. So there is no doubt in the minds of anybody, of the judges, when you go to, or whoever, when you go to court, because that's what they do. And they got the money. They have a war chest of money that they raise throughout the year through different campaigns. They'll do Tasha Diaz's campaign. Then they'll do a fundraiser for John Rubo. Then they'll do one for Corazon. Then they'll do one for the Committee for Better Yonkers. And all the while, all that money is just all part of the same war chest. You have to understand that. And so this is why it's important that you, if you're going to get signatures, make sure that you take a picture with the people signing this, videotape them signing it. So there's, and they know what they're signing. Say, thank you for signing my ballot. I appreciate your support, as you videotape it, right? Show the address and everything, just so there's no question. Because they're going to take you to court, especially if they see you as a threat. And now you're going to have to spend money, hire an attorney to fight that in order to stay on the ballot. That's the first step right there. And if you make it past there, you got to go through the primaries. They're going to bash you. They're going to do you like Cater. So you got to expect that. So if you're someone who, you know, was doing some funky stuff back in the day, man, maybe you shouldn't run, because they're going to be finding that stuff. If, you know, I'm talking about some weird, crazy, funky stuff, you know. I mean, if you was robbing houses, you know what I mean, robbing old ladies, you know, for a 10-year span, you know, and then even you change your life, but they will put that out there. They'll put everything out there. So it's going to be tough. It's going to take people with guts, thick skin to come out and help make this change here for the city, folks, for the people, everyone, whether you live on the southwest side or the north or southeast side, northwest, northeast, it doesn't matter. We're all being affected. Black, white, brown, yellow, purple, pink. It doesn't matter, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. We must come out and vote next year. It isn't even affordable. Some that wonder, oh, I should explain that. I don't know. Anyway, folks, thank you. That's the Mike Breen interview. What do you think? He messed up? I think he bombed bean counters. He used bean counter. He was contradicting himself. Now he's 4 term limits. This guy has not done anything. He doesn't even seem to care as long as he just gets a vote. You know, They ask you, what you been up to? Knocking on doors. We knocking hard. We're going out there every day. I want people to know that I'm walking and knocking. So what? That's not your job. That doesn't do anything for us. You better do that if you want to get elected, okay? But what are you doing for the people? What have you guys done for the people? I've yet to get a real solid answer from anyone. Not one person. None of their supporters, none of their aides, their assistants, or them themselves. What have you done for the people of Yonkers? Anyone? 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 Tasha? Shanae? Corazon? John? Moranti? Breen? Collins? Yeah, buddy. Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I'm just waiting for one person to tell me what just one of them has done that has really benefited the city, and like, wow, we need to vote this person again. We need to keep this person in office because they have done such an amazing job for the city and the people here. Who and what? No disrespect to Corazon Pineda, because I really don't have an issue or dislike her, but I don't see how you could run for mayor. You can't just run for mayor simply because you're Latina. Okay? It's not good enough. I'm a Latino, and I would love to see Latino, the first Latino mayor in the city of Yonkers, especially we have such a large population size. I would love it. But you're not going to get my vote just because you're Latino or black or white or yellow. I'm going to start including you guys too, right? So I don't know. We have to look at their track record, especially if they've been in office already. They want to run for mayor. Just look at what they've done before. It's not going to be good for any of them. I mean, Corazon represents District 2. That's the Nodine Hill section. By the way, Corazon, two people now, two different people, two different sets of individuals have told me that their rents are going up. Elm Street and Ash Street. That's the Nodine Hill section of the city of Yonkers. Probably the, one of the lowest socioeconomic areas of the city of Yonkers, right? And their rents are going up. So people are having to leave. And what they're doing is they're jacking their rents up by a significant amount of money, $500 a month in one case. And you have to sign a lease agreeing to it. And if you don't, you got to go. So what are you doing about that, Corazon? I've heard about 2 different families now, and I'm sure there's more. What's going on over there? That area has a lot of crime, a lot of shootings. And you want to be mayor. Lakeisha, I know you really don't care. You're just ready to move on, right? You can't wait till your time is up, right? You're like, I didn't want this. Not what I'm really into. Can't wait to just go and slide up and be a judge. I was talking to someone yesterday. I don't know. That judge sheet that you're hoping for, Lakeisha might be eyeing it too. Got to be careful with that one. Tasha, you say you do a lot, but you killed the housing ordinance. You showed us everything right there, and you haven't done anything since except for hang out with the developers. That's it. Shanae, not sure what to make of you, girl. You want to, but then you don't. You try, but then you forget. Maybe you ought to just move on, right? Politics is maybe not for you. John Rubo. Did you hear Steve Sansone? He said that the seniors are allowed to have a Carolyn. They could have their election. They just need to know who are the members. They need a list of the actual members, the official list, so they can move forward with their elections for the board. That's what Steve Sansone said on Sunday. John, what have you done for the people of Yonkers in your district? I remember when John was running for re-election, he lied to us and said he supported the affordable housing. And then he was hanging out at Cerrado Park with Tasha Diaz until the elections were over. Then he disappeared. Moranti, What are you doing? Reviewing the budget again? Good job. Mike Breen, what are you doing? Whole lot of nothing. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Is this bullying? Is this bullying? These are elected officials that don't do nothing for us. They take taxpayer money, they abuse their power, and they have severe impact on the city and the people that live here. Who are the bullies? Who are the bullies? I mean, people are literally getting kicked out of their homes. Businesses are being forced closed. Now that's a bully. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a great night, folks. I'm up out of here. Folks, remember, Tasha Diaz, the majority leader for District 3, will be up for re-election next year. She killed the Affordable Housing Ordinance. The mayor, he vetoed it, meaning when they wanted to pass, they passed it. He vetoed it. Say, nope, you're not going to pass this. Then they went up to vote on overriding that veto, and they should have voted to override it because they passed it. And then all of a sudden, Tasha Diaz decided she was going to change her mind. She voted yes, they approved it, but she was not going to go against the mayor's veto. Why? And for that, she was named the majority leader? Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to you? So remember, she's up for re-election. She is corrupted. She is compromised. This is a Rich Hill scandal in the making. 2.0. I am Freddie Vasquez. Time to go.
Freddie wins.
In another one, Mr. Lugo lied to me. And I don't vote for the person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!